Welcome to Three Thoughts On. Today we continue our series on resilience, and my guest today is Lisa Smith, Batch and Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's snowing here in the Grand Tetons.
Oh, what a beautiful part of the country. I love that part of the country. Well, it's not snowing here in Orlando, but it's a great weather week so far. So I'm thoroughly enjoying being outside and enjoying the cool air. Cool meaning 60s, which is cool. It's cool for Florida. Well, thank you for making the time, Lisa. I'm very excited about hearing your story. So, why don't we get started with a little bit of an introduction on who you are? What's your story, and how did that story unfold to get you to live the life you currently live?
Well, I'm 63 years old. I live in Jackson, Wyoming with my husband Jay and my two girls, Annabella and Gabriella. But they're both away from home now, so I shouldn't say they live with us anymore, and I miss them terribly. It's a tough phase being an empty nester. It's taken some serious resilience to adapt to that change for me. I don't really like it that much, let me tell you.
I can
Um,
relate.
yeah, I'm sure. How I arrived to where I am today. Wow, what a powerful question. Things kind of evolve always. Things are always evolving. Change is constant. There are only two things that we're in control of, and one of them is our actions and our attitude. And my attitude has always been to be in a place of life where sometimes things just fall into your lap, right? Where you have to make choices about which way to go. Do I go left? Do I go right? I'm standing on the ledge. Which way am I going to go? And I think arriving where I've arrived has come with a lot of being spontaneous and simplicity and being very open minded to being vulnerable about where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. Because I think there's so many options and so many choices out there of how I've gotten where I am today. And I'm not the kind of person who looks back and says, look what I've done and look what I've done to get where I am today. I look like what there is to do today, tomorrow, and where I'm heading. And it's continually evolving. I'm continually redefining myself and redefining my purpose and my passion in life. So I don't think that I've arrived yet, to be quite honest, of where I am, if that makes sense to you.
It makes perfect sense. It is a journey. You never really get anywhere. You just take a pause to rest, right? And then you keep going because it is the journey, not a destination, at least for me.
Absolutely. It's a journey of every day of evolving, changing, continuing education, continuing to learn and grow in your faith in whatever it might be. It's all about growth, change, and continuing moving forward.
Well, that's fantastic. So you and I have a common friend. That's Joe DeSena from the Spartan group. He felt that it was imperative after I did my interview with him that I would speak with you. I actually asked him, it's like, who should I speak with in your circle of people through his journey, which was it is still ongoing and quite interesting. And your name came right up. Why did he want me to talk to you?
Oh boy. Well, Joe DeSena and I go way back. I met Joe a long time ago. I was actually his coach for a while, as too. And believe it or not, back then, I could probably kick his butt. I would swear, but I won't do that. Um, so Joe and I met, and we sat down in a bar one time in New York City, and he wrote out on a napkin, what he wanted to do, what he was looking to do. And we connected again. My husband and I, Jay, went to Vermont to see Joe, to check it out, to consider working with Joe on races and things like that. This was all when it was just written on a napkin and it was just a pipe dream. And we decided that Vermont may be just a little too small for us. We brought Joe out to the Tetons where we are, and Joe brought his now wife, Courtney, his father in law, and had me and my husband, we put them through a massive boot camp. And it was, we participated in all of this because Joe's like, she can't keep up with me. She can't do this. She can't. And I'm like, all right, Joe, let's go. Let's do this. I mean, from snowshoeing to hiking steep, steep mountains, trying to sled down these running. His father in law said, this is harder than anything he'd ever done in the military. And it was one of those things where my goal was that Joe DeSena was going to fall over and not get up. Of course, he's going to get up because he always gets up, but he was going to actually like fall over because he couldn't take another step and he needed to rest. Well, it became so challenging and so difficult. They actually stayed at our home, ate dinner with us, and Joe fell asleep at the table with his head in the bowl of soup. His face down, head in the bowl of soup. Yep. And I was like celebrating. I got him. I got him. Like, here's this most resilient person thinking that nobody's going to knock me down. Nobody's going to get me down. Well, he went down with his head in the soup. And I'm sticking to that story. It's the truth. We've been friends, ever since. I'm so proud and so inspired and encouraged by everything that Joe has done. Joe and Courtney and the family. And, we went on to do our own races here in the Tetons. We put on some 100-mile races and our journeys kind of went a little bit separate. I also did a bunch of adventure races myself, some eco-challenges, raid galwas, participated in all those. I'll give you another little thing about Joe. We decided we were going to do the Vermont 100 and then get on an airplane and fly to do the Badwater 135. So we finished the Vermont 100 on a Sunday, and Sunday night we're on an airplane to fly to Death Valley to start the Badwater 135 on a Monday, which we did, and we both did it. But then Joe had to throw something else on top of it. Of course, the next weekend he did Lake Placid Ironman. And I'm like, you have to just one up me, right? um, so Joe's a pretty badass athlete himself and has done some incredible things. But I know now his big focus mostly is on getting other people to do those things.
And he's certainly doing so. So thank you for that background. Let's go back to you and your story of resilience. You mentioned you started coaching, Joe. When did you begin this coaching endeavor on yourself?
The coaching endeavor it definitely evolved. I coached some when I was in college. I coached some swimming, some diving. Um, I was actually an athlete most of my life, and it was proven to me as a kid, freshman in high school, when I tried out for the track and the cross country team, that I didn't make the team. And, the coach is like, Smith, you're not on the team. That was my maiden name. You're not on the team. And I was like, what? And I went home and told my mom, I said, I suck. I suck. I'm not any good. I can't run. The coach says I'm no good. And I went with that for a long time. I went with that I was no good and I sucked for a long time. And it became so important to me when I discovered when I was in college. I ran a 5K turkey trot race kind of by mistake, and I won the race, and I won a 20-pound turkey. And I was like, I don't suck after all. I went home for Thanksgiving with the 20-pound turkey, and I said, guess what, Mom? I can actually run. I can actually do this. I can actually run. So I tell people my career started with a 20-pound turkey. um, my running career. But it also put a fire under me about coaching, of how nobody should ever tell anybody that they cannot do something. I don't care what your age is. You never say, you're not good enough. You can't do that. I mean, so I did. I started coaching, and I've been coaching for 40 years now. That you could take somebody who can't run from, the front of their house to their mailbox, and 4 years later, they could be state champions. That don't ever tell somebody they can't do something. And that's how it started for me. And I'm still telling people that and still believe that. And it's incredible what each of us are capable of. The possibilities are endless.
That's wonderful. I want to touch some more on that in a minute, but I want to go back. So you went from a coach telling you you're no good, you don't make the team, to then you run a 5K after Thanksgiving, right? Because that's usually those the turkey trots are right after Thanksgiving when you just want you've eaten way too much the past couple of days, right? And then you go to an eco challenge, which I was a big fan, watching those eco challenges, back in the day when Discovery Channel had them. That's a big jump. I mean, the eco challenge, as I recall them, were grueling experiences where not only you have to do all these unthinkable things, but you have to do them as a team, right? You have a team of people, and you have the navigator, and you have the leader, and you have all these different things. And you're in the wilderness, and you're really pushing yourselves through the limit. Talk to me about that mindset of a 5K, and then fast forward to an eco challenge, and then beyond, right? Because you didn't stop there, you kept going, right? So what was going on inside you that kept telling you, I need to go to the next level, and then the next level, and then the next level?
Well, the 5K certainly put a fire under me, and I realized that I was angry. I was really, really angry, and I was dealing with some things that created anger. And I'm not an angry person, but it created like some, ugh, like nobody's going to tell me I can't do that. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do that. But I did go from like a 5K, and then I ran the 10K, and then I went straight to the marathon, and then I went straight to the Eco Challenge. So I didn't do a lot of steps that I would coach people to do, um, because I was just in this mindset of why not? Why not? I got invited to do the Eco Challenge, and I thought, what's that? What is an Eco Challenge? I mean, it was the first one that was in 1995. And I had never ridden a horse. Like, you got to ride a horse. I was like, what? You've got to rock climb and rappel, and you're whitewater rafting and kayaking and hanging off mountains. This was a 350-mile eco challenge in Utah through the desert. It was super hot. It lasted over 10 days. And it was really challenging, beyond challenging. We finished, and I met some of my best friends of my life there that I still have as my friends, because it was teamwork does make the dream work, but trust in others, like they got your back. Leave no man or woman behind. That we are all experiencing this, together. And I learned that, you know, I'm a little bit of tough, I'm a little bit hard, but I'm also kind of soft. And you don't have to be like so hard, so hard. It's okay to be soft as well. Soft in your way, soft in your moving. And after we finished that first eco challenge, Marshall Ulrich, who's a good friend of mine still, incredible, resilient person you may want to speak to, he says, you ought to do Badwater. And I'm like, what's Badwater? And The race director of Badwater at the time, Matt Frederick, happened to be there at the Eco-Challenge. So Marshall introduces me to Matt Frederick. And I said, well, what's a Badwater? Oh, it's a 135-mile foot race through Death Valley in July. And I didn't even know where Death Valley was. I hadn't ever heard of anybody running anything over 26.2 miles. I'd done Ironman races before that, you know, and never knew anybody ran further than that, because that's kind of where my thought process was. Well, that was April. July, I was at the starting line of the Badwater 135. So I went from marathon to the Badwater 135. And I asked Marshall, well, how do you train for this? I mean, what do you need? You know, run with a few extra clothes on, and, it's a little hilly. It's no big deal. At the time, 1995, there's no website and maps and all of these things to show you just what you're actually getting into. So when I talk about being spontaneous and the unknown of what you're getting into, that was a beautiful aspect of these challenges for me. The unknown. So I finished the Badwater 135, really cussing Marshall Ulrich out because, like, are you freaking kidding me? Another mountain pass to climb? I come from flat New Jersey. Um, so that's kind of where it's all started for me. And it's continued with the love of endurance, the love of challenge, and the love of, like, you know, I hear all the time from people, well, I used to do this. And I'm like, what do you mean you used to? Are you a used to beer? Yeah. Well, I used to run a 640 50 miler. I used to run, 18-hour 100, but I can't run that fast anymore, but I can still participate. I can still do these things, but change is inevitable. And we don't have to be used to beers. We can still be, and we still are that person.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned a number of different things there. So you say the love of endurance, the love of challenge. I happen to believe that that is one of the things that is missing in today's age because eh, our society has evolved as a result of not as a result, but what are the outcomes of our modern society is seeking comfort, right? And everything uh, that you see around you it's about being more comfortable, from the remote control to not get up and change a TV, all the way down to Instacart, right, where things get delivered to you from any or Amazon from all over the world. And it seems that we are losing our ability to love a challenge, to see the benefit in being challenged. In fact, we seem to be, in general terms, of course, and I'm talking very generically here, that we're running away from being challenged. Um, Based on your story, you have your individual story of how you love the, like you said, love of endurance and love of challenge, but you also have the coaching side where you actually working with other people. Number two questions. Number one, do you agree that that's something that we seem to be missing? And number two, do you think that we can teach that?
We are absolutely missing that. I see, people are choosing easy, easy, quick, simple. And I believe that it's the hard things, the challenges that create growth. It's the hard things and the challenges that create a mindset of, like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I mean, there's so much to do. It makes me literally sad to see so many kids sitting around. They're on their phones or on their, they're just not engaging in activity. and they're sleeping in, they're staying, you know, of course, high school kids, you sleep in, you do those things, but we as my generation of people, we didn't have all that. It is up to us to keep encouraging and reminding people of what they're capable of doing in the physical sense. You know, your mind tells your body what it can do, right? And once your body's doing what it can do, your mind is shifting. Like you can do hard things, and hard things are so fun because in the end, you're celebrating, like, wow, I did that. I didn't think I could do that. And there's not a lot of celebrating in easy, you know? I changed the remote. Oh, good. Honey, can you get up? No, I don't need to get up. I can turn the lights on from the airplane. I can do, you know, there's a lot of reasons to not get up, but getting up is one of the greatest keys to longevity. Holding yourself accountable. If you fall down, you get back up. And if you have a setback, it's a reason to make a comeback. We don't just keep sitting around looking for a simple way out because that's not living and that's not growing. That's not being your best version of yourself.